Hello and welcome as we return once again to normal. I wanted to reflect on one thing in particular, which is I believe that social media stole and continues to steal my curiosity in a really vampiric and strange way. Now, for a long time, I believed that being on social media was good, in part because it allowed me to kind of outsource my thinking to the algorithm and allow the algorithm to feed me with things that I would be interested in. And for a long time, this kind of worked. However, I wasn't necessarily getting things that I wasn't spending time watching reels about things that I was interested in, but, I was just watching reels that, I don't know, made me feel a lot of dopamine in my mind. Now, I am regrettably some combination of, anxious, depressed, perfectionist, very jumpy, scattered attention span. Many of these things, if not all of them, I have been able to kind of get control of through therapy, through talking to friends, through, allowing myself to feel happy at times. That's also very good. But the one thing that I suppose I struggle with the most is, a feeling of insignificance, a feeling that I'm not enough, that I will disappoint my family, that my family's immigration to Australia was a waste of time, that they should have stayed where they were, and so on. Now, these are very complicated feelings, but one way that I have learnt to sublimate this feeling that otherwise leads me to depression is by making things. Sometimes it's physical things. Reupholstery I got into for a while, jewelry making. I made the ring that I'm currently wearing. Other times it's making academic things, studying, writing, producing things that I've researched, making music, whatever. But for many years it's been this podcast and my previous podcast and talking about things, because the way that I learn the most and honestly the greatest insight I get into myself, those moments happen the most when I'm speaking. And so I find the task of recording podcasts to be extraordinarily therapeutic and very interesting. So I said before that, social media is vampiric in a strange way. And I think it's vampiric because it takes away, for me, it feels like spending more than a few minutes on social media. The impact is that it takes away the ambition that I hoped to have had. And this leaves me again and again feeling depressed because I go, scrolling through reels or whatever on TikTok, the For You page, and you see a lot of stuff. And there is some murky, confusing sense that you are doing something productive by watching people talk about the news, or by watching people get ready in the morning, or learning some fact about basket weaving in a certain country, or whatever it is. You can really trick yourself into thinking that something meaningful is happening. But then you always feel depleted, don't you? You always feel at the end of, I suppose, a relapse of some sort back into the algorithm. When you return to it after trying to avoid it, you feel disgusting. You feel like, something has been stolen from you. And in my case, a lot of the time, I feel that my curiosity has been stolen, and I'm no longer interested in the things that I hoped to do with my day, because so much of my energy was taken by engaging with, the monolithic kind of sequence of information on different topics. And now, one thing that I have thought about for many years is there are, I think, two kinds of, fixations I have. One is with the feeling of stress, and I think the other is with information. I think I am fixated on feeling stressed. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of the time, the moments where I feel the most stressed come immediately after a feeling of being calm. And so I think for whatever reason, perhaps because I'm productive when I'm stressed, or I feel like I am very alive when I'm stressed, I continue to return to this stressed state. The second thing was being fixated on information. There is something, everyone is curious in some way, and there are many ways that you can frame your curiosity, either as healthy or pathological. And I think that, part of my sense of humor involves like pathologizing everything, which I used to do in a much more honest way. And I think now, I just like making fun of my neuroses and so on. But something that is very strange about social media is the way that my fixation with, consuming new information, the way that social media almost treats this fixation. Because at once I get the sensation that, oh my God, I'm consuming all of these things. Like, some of them are crazy, some of them are not crazy, some are shocking, some are real news, some are whatever, like facts about something that I'm interested in. But then it's a very unfulfilling way of kind of reaching satisfaction, reaching the kind of, the satisfying that desire to learn things. And I'm reminded of a kind of one of the most interesting thought experiments in contemporary philosophy from a philosopher called Robert Nozick. And he talks about this thought experiment where he describes the experience machine. And the experience machine is this machine that, you plug into. And if you plug into it, then you experience just total happiness or total joy, the best possible feeling. You experience that forever. However, it's not real. It's a simulation. You're in some simulation and you're not feeling that in the real world. But your brain, is just being flooded with the best possible neurotransmitters of all. But it's not because anything in this real world is happening. It's because you're being tricked. And I suppose the question that Robert Nozick, the philosopher, asks is, would you plug into this machine or not? Would you trade your life, as it is riddled with complications and frustrations and disappointment and sorrow, but also joy and love and funny things? Would you trade that up for being plugged into a machine to experience pure bliss? And, my sense is that many people would not do that unless, you are some kind of very intense utilitarian who believes in, pleasure, ultimate pleasure being the most important thing. So with that philosophy experiment in mind, I took a further step and I thought to myself, okay, maybe we can extrapolate something, a kind of moral lesson from that thought experiment and make it into something more kind of applicable. We can't just think about some random thought experiment in the abstract. It'll be more helpful to think about what this means at the level of principle. So what kind of principle can we extract from that thought experiment? And I thought to myself, what would be helpful is thinking about simulated things versus real things. Now, I was thinking about my relationship with social media, and I thought, okay, maybe what's going on is that I'm experiencing a simulation of learning or a simulation of joy through this proxy, right? There are all of these different ways that we can frame social media, the phone, the device, as this proxy, this like mediator between me and what I hope to actually feel. And it's being fed, the thing that I want to feel is being directed through the phone and into me. And so I'm receiving this impure, algorithmically determined version of the thing that I want, whether it's information or romance or friendship or happiness, whatever it is. When it's fed to me through the algorithm, it necessarily, I think, is a simulation of the real thing. Going back to that thought experiment before, I don't think that many of us place much value on simulations. We want the real thing. And then there's a kind of deeper psychological question here, which is, none of this is new. We all know that, social media is virtual, and being online is a kind of highly regulated, simulated, digitally framed space. And it isn't, the same as being with a friend in real life. But we continue to return to social media for these things, to meet these needs. And we're continually disappointed. So what's going on there? I think one way to understand what's going on here, why we continue to return to social media, is because it's scary to get what you want nearly all of the time. At least for me, I get very scared. I think not like fear scared, but there's something kind of confronting about being presented with what you want. And I think many of us are self-destructive in the way that we turn to social media for things that we want, with full knowledge that we will never be able to get those things through social media because they're only gettable in the real world or through the real world. So I think there's some kind of avoidance here. And now I'm not big into, attachment styles. I think they are useful, but, again, I think it's not very helpful to reduce yourself or anyone else to like one particular definition. But I think there is something classically avoidant about this relationship that many of us have with social media. It is an inherently procrastination-based relationship. It is one that involves avoidance of the real thing. Because the real thing sometimes is too much. It's too real. Now, all of these reasons together, thinking about all of this stuff in my little spooky mind, I thought to myself, okay, I should take some time off social media. And so I deleted everything off my phone. On my phone, I think I had like 4 apps: Mail, Calendar, Spotify. Don't remember the 4th one. Now, for the 3 months or so, that this was happening, I don't think I became more productive. I certainly wasn't happier. But one thing that did change for me was that it became, after, a month or so, I was able to really focus on my studies. And that's what I wanted to do. Now, if you have something that you really want to commit to, but you're struggling to commit to it, the first thing I would do is like delete social media off your phone. You don't have to delete social media full stop. You don't have to deactivate. Just like use it on the computer and feel how like elementally like disappointing reels are on like Instagram web, or like TikTok is on like Chrome. Like it is, it's like talking to, how like hearing someone describe a dream, their own dream, you're often like, wow, like what, great. Like that's the same experience. Someone's describing a dream. It's not your dream. You're just kind of like, okay, great. That's the same experience that I feel when I use like web Instagram. I'm like, wow, like why am I here? There's something about the computer, maybe because it's not being held in your hand. There's something about the computer that removes you far enough away from the social media application that you can very easily pull away from it. At least I feel it's much more easy for me to interrupt. Like I've never really doom scrolled on a computer before. So yeah, I think this is probably all that I wanted to talk about in this episode. Thanks for listening. If you want to get in touch or if you want to follow my activities online, I'm on Instagram at Alex Hamo, same with TikTok. And please share this podcast with people. I hope that it will become something that I'm able to dedicate more time to. And obviously interest is something that is very helpful. So thanks. Don't forget to leave a review and have a nice day. Bye.